We made this.
Hello and welcome to Right in the Childhood, the podcast about kids' TV here on the We Made This podcast network. Remember us? It's been a while. And I thought about whether or not I should do this or not. And I thought, why the hell not? My name's Mark Adams, I'm your host. And unfortunately, due to the nature of the podcast, I did can it a good while ago now. I just couldn't maintain having guests who you needed to record with twice. And after Fraser went all boaty and was travelling the world, there wasn't anyone local that I thought would be able to replace him. So unfortunately, as you know, the podcast did just kind of fold. But I found some old stuff that Fraser and I recorded during the pandemic. And it was because Fraser was super excited about the potential Peter Pan and Wendy film that was coming up. And, well, Peter Pan and Wendy took a while, but it's out later this month. So I thought, why not? I'll just stick it out there. If there's some people out there who still subscribe to the podcast and still enjoy it, then it's one final little episode for you. We looked at the Peter Pan film and we looked at it in the kind of format of Right in the Childhood. And the idea was we'd post it close to when Peter Pan and Wendy was launched. So I'm doing it. So, yeah. Hope you enjoy it. And this probably really is the very, very last episode of Right in the Childhood. And I say probably is. But you never know. We do both really enjoy doing this. So, who knows? But it probably is.
You and I are both very much have self-diagnosed ourselves with Peter Pan disorder.
Yeah.
And this podcast is probably a product of Peter Pan disorder.
Very much
Revisiting childhood memories. So we thought, it's revisiting a childhood memory, but it's also one of the biggest things to do with childhood. We're going to be looking at Peter Pan. We're looking at the Disney classic original.
So it's like the usual format of the show, but not with telly, it's with a film. But you watch this film quite a lot, don't you?
Yeah.
I don't.
I was going to say almost religiously, but that saying, it's I've seen it used very hilarious. It's like, I care about my fitness religiously. I'm atheist, so they don't go to the gym. I was like, oh, that's funny. So I've stopped using that saying.
Sounds like me.
Yeah, I've stopped saying that saying now. But yes, I watch this tirelessly a lot of the time.
I guess you could say, if you wanted it to be less faithy, you could put ritualistically, but that's still quite faithy.
Yeah, or maybe...
Regularly.
Yeah. As much as I poop.
Really? That much?
Well, it depends.
Have you got a problem downstairs,
I've got
mate?
Constipation. That's either a comment on my Peter Pan addiction or, my bowel movements.
So I describe myself as having a Peter Pan complex. I obviously know the Peter Pan story. Yeah. I think I read the book as a kid. I watched Hook as a kid. What
a film.
I remember it being dead good, but it's not particularly well rated, is it?
People have panned it.
Lol! And I've seen the Disney one a few times as a kid.
Yeah.
But I haven't watched the Disney one for a very, very long time.
Whereas opposed to that, I'm Peter Pan obsessed.
You are. You even dress like Peter Pan.
Yeah, I dress like Peter Pan. I'm currently wearing a Peter Pan t-shirt underneath this hoodie, Mark, just to let you in. It says, that obviously the listeners can't see it, so I'll read it out for you. It says, I'm so fly, I never land.
You are the coolest. No, it's terrible. You are the coolest guy I know. Yeah, coolest. I only know one guy.
Coolest kid around. Oh but so Peter Pan. I'm semi-obsessed with the Peter Pan lifestyle and the media around Peter Pan. enjoyed Hook growing up, enjoyed the 2003 one, which is interesting because obviously that's past your...
I don't think I've ever seen that.
Well, it was a big one for like my generation growing up, and a lot of people's first crush, girl and guys, is the Peter Pan from that, which is very interesting because
Who played him?
Oh, his name was Jeremy something. Apparently, it looks quite good now as well, to be fair. A lot of people are still like...
Oh, so he didn't like make it big after it?
No, it's just Peter Pan and probably made that Peter Pan money. It's always on like... It's not a Christmas film, but you know when they put on like films that you typically see at Christmas, so like Harry Potter, it always seems to be on at Christmas. But yeah, it's on Netflix. It's like a lot of this Peter Pan stuff's on Netflix, which doesn't really help my addiction. Like I recently watched the Pan film, and there's bits...
Is that any good?
It's not great, but it's not as woeful as I thought it was going to be. I was really hesitant to watch it, but then one of my friends told me to watch it, and I did. And there's parts in it where I was like, oh, I can see what you do that. And it's clearly written by someone who is a fan of Peter Pan, and they're trying new stuff with it. And I think that's why Hook gets a lot of grief, is people don't like it when you mess with something like... Hook is like, Peter Pan doesn't grow up, why is he grown up? Or, like, he's come back. And, like, yeah, there's a lot of stuff that didn't make sense. Like, they kidnapped these orphans from wartime England, and then they'd come to Neverland, and they were singing Nirvana. But, like,
really?
Not singing it, like, it was more like a chant, which was very weird. But then the whole thing is like, oh, Neverland's supposed to be, like, beyond time and all this, and, like, time's irrelevant there or whatever. And I was like, alright, whatever, next bit. And to be fair, Hugh Jackman was Blackbeard, so Hook wasn't the villain. Hook and Peter were actually friends.
Okay.
And he was a pretty cool villain. He's very cool as a pirate. So... I believe this is right. I've got a friend who's obsessed with Pirates of the Caribbean. So originally, apparently, Jack Sparrow was written for Hugh Jackman.
Right.
And watching Pan made me go, I kind of wish we saw him as a pirate at some point, because he's very good. But he's a showman, so it's pretty good with stuff like that. I've also met Peter Pan at Disney, and it was one of my favourite experiences. I feel like I should bring this up because my family will appreciate it as well, because we all were in line. And my sister said, I don't know if I should repeat this on the way, but it was like, we're going to have to pretend that there's something up with him, like he's got autism or something, because he's with all these... And then you're like, I had to be like, no, it's fine, it's totally fine. And
I don't think anyone at Disney will bat an eyelid at someone being a fanboy of Disney.
And then when I went over there, oh my goodness, I was a bit nervous at first, because I'd literally just started working as a costume character at Nickelodeon, so I was like... I'd been on the other side of these things, and like, oh my god, I hope I'm going to be a good guest, because sometimes, I hate to say this, you do get some guests where it's like, oh, this interaction is not going well, or they're just giving me nothing, or sometimes there's the cutest ones where it's like, they're not getting anything because they're literally just starstruck, and that's enough, just seeing the joy on the face. But then there's some where it's like, are you going to anything? And Peter had just gone to Neverland and come back. He's gone on a break for a bit. Like, only a few minutes though, fair play to him. Usually it's like 15 minutes or whatever. It's only 5 minutes, and I was like front of the queue. Oh my goodness, as soon as it started with like bam 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 conversation, and it's so the cast member who was taking all the photos took some photos on someone's phone. I think it was one of the family's phones, and there's so many photos where you can literally see me and Peter both matching, like crossing our arms, our hands on our hips, literally matching, talking or whatever. My mum and sister just on the side, like, watching, just looking like two TV presenters are just like, what is going on here? Like, and it was so funny, but it was an amazing experience, and it was Christmas Day as well, so it made my Christmas.
I think that's the fundamental difference between you and me when it comes to this Peter Pan thing is, the Peter Pan complex for me is just that, in a lot of ways, I don't want to grow up. I haven't changed my tastes in 25 years. The things I liked at 15, pretty much I still like at 42.
Yeah.
Whereas you actually really like Peter Pan, whereas for me it's just a metaphor.
Yeah, it must be like I've really bought into the metaphor. It doesn't help that I look like him as well.
You do look a bit like Peter Pan.
And a lot of, I got a lot of nicknames, like I got called Peter Pan at uni. But it started at camp, actually. There was these campers that just knew me as Peter Pan, and it didn't help that I had green shorts on working at the pool, and I was like... Yeah. So I just bought into it more and more, and obviously it came like a camp persona. I was like, oh, I'll do Peter Pan. And then obviously, like, I started wearing my Spider-Man suit. So people were like, oh, Spider-Man. So now I'm like, oh, Spider-Pan, mix the two.
It's a nice thing, that Spider-Pan thing.
But, yeah...
Only you, though.
It was so funny, though, because, like, at camp... these campers just knew me as Peter Pan. So I was like, oh my god, like it's so weird. But then when I went to uni, when I was studying, like one and a half of my degree was maths, and like I was always late. Like if anyone knows me, I'm just constantly late all the time.
Oh, you're definitely not always late.
Yeah. And there was like, apparently some of the maths people were having conversations, and this girl I eventually went out with, like the big friendship group, I was like, oh, I wonder if Peter Pan's in today. And like none of them knew my name for like a good solid year.
Fuck's sake.
They only knew me as Peter Pan, and then afterwards some of them still just called me Peter Pan. I was like, okay with that. So then what I did was, everyone was stressing about maths exams. And to be fair, a lot of them were because they were doing a lot of exams. I was doing half the exams because I was doing half the degree. I was doing like joint honours with film and TV. So when maths got too hard, I was like, I'm going to do some film and TV stuff. And when film and TV got too hard, I was like, I'm going to do some maths stuff. It's good to have two sides of your brain like that. But to relieve the pressure and to like it was sort of a flirtatious thing with this girl who would eventually become my girlfriend. I decided to take one of the exams in a Peter Pan costume that I got on eBay. I no longer on Amazon. I no longer wear this one because it just covered. It was like a dress, and it was not the best Peter. It's so hard to find decent Peter Pan costumes.
I've never looked, Fraser.
Oh, it's so annoying. The one I would love to get is the 2003 one. It's a bit saucy, that one as well. So it's a bit it's just leaves, essentially, just leaves.
Okay, fine.
But I wore the Peter Pan costume to an exam. It was very comfy. It made everyone a bit happier. And I think that's the whole thing of like the Peter Pan thing, is sort of like to try and bring joy to people. Obviously, there's also the negative traits of Peter Pan, which have been explored in other stuff like... and
I think that's why...
Once Upon a Time, like, he's a bit selfish.
Yeah.
I
think that's why it's considered a Peter Pan complex, because it acknowledges that whilst in a lot of ways it is okay to not grow up, but also... it can cause problems that you haven't grown up.
There's this song that I listened to a lot during 2020, and it's not good. It's probably not a good sign that it was, when Spotify do those rap things. Yeah. They did, top songs, and it's a song called Peter Pan. It's by Kelsey B, or like, I could say her last name, but I would butcher it, so I'm just going to say Kelsey B. Right. And it's all about how she broke up with this boy because he basically had a Peter Pan complex. It was like, what is it? Never gonna be him, and like play the song. If you listen to this on Spotify, it's a click away. But after you've done this. But it's like, never gonna be, man. Always up in the clouds and stuff like that. And I'm listening to it going, oh, this is a jam, yeah, Peter Pan. And then realising, oh, this is a lot about me. And it was just like, always around, never happy unless you're on like the next adventure. And I was like, oh, this is hitting hard. And I was like, it's gotten to a point where I was like, I need to stop listening to this, but I can't because it's such a jam. And it's like, does anyone else have that song where it's like, it's either like a slight dig to you or it hits very real? And you probably should stop listening to it, but you can't help yourself because it's an absolute jam.
I created a Spotify playlist that I only play when I've been dumped.
Really?
So everybody has toxic songs, mate. Yeah, so I'm not sure I've got one that's exactly the same as that, but everybody listens to sad songs when they're sad, which does you no good.
This is weird because I never do it with songs. I always do it with TV shows. Like the TV show How I Met Your Mother, it has an episode for every situation of life. And like I've watched so many episodes. I've even got my mate Jacob to do it as well. We'll just watch episodes based on our lives. And
I can only think of the Spotify playlist. It's got I've Never Been to Me by Charlene. It's got Why You Wanna Break My Heart by Tia Carrera. Oh, it's terrible, terrible, whiny music. Yeah. I Just Died in Your Arms Tonight by Cutting Crew.
I love that.
It's fucking terrible, this playlist. I'm not going to share it with the world.
That is brilliant. Oh, is it a private playlist?
Fuck yeah. I think I might have even called it Dumped.
Really? See, this song is on my... It's like... Take Me to Neverland. That's what I call the pod.
Right.
I thought that was a great original name, and then I tried searching for it the other day, and then it was a load of people had done it, but a load of people weren't as good as mine. All mine were related to Peter Pan. None of this random adding stuff. I've got a bone to gripe with Spotify. You know when you make a playlist with Spotify, does Spotify try and add random songs into your playlist?
They suggest it, but they don't add it.
No, they try and mind you, the playlist is only 5 songs, but they'll try and sneak one in the middle. I'm like, hey, we've not heard number 5 yet.
I've got a Christmas one. Would you like to know what's on my Christmas playlist?
Let me guess, Last Christmas.
Yes, Last Christmas
by Wham.
by Wham, followed by Rage Against the Machine.
Because it was a Christmas number one.
Yeah, followed by Boris Johnson is a fucking cunt. Last year I added a third to my 2-song
Nice.
playlist.
I love that. Yeah, because you're not a fan of that Whamageddon, are you?
Oh, that Whamageddon can fuck right off. Anyway, we've got distracted.
I know, yeah.
So, Peter Pan, Disney version.
Yes.
I don't really remember it other than it being super cute, but I have heard that there's a really...
Big problematic scene.
Yes,
Huge.
that's exactly what I was going to say.
Huge chunk, yeah.
So I think what we're going to have to
yeah,
do is talk about that, but then also then take that
out of the situation.
And I know that there's going to be... This is March. This will be
March,
broadcast in
April
March,
time, yeah.
April. So when does the new Peter Pan come out?
I will Google that because they announced it Investors Day. Well, they didn't announce it. They've been talking about it for ages, and I got very excited about it. Obviously, you're too old to be casted as Peter Pan. It's fine. I'll talk to my agent about it. Joking, I don't have an agent, but if anyone wants,
You're a ridiculous creature.
But yeah, Peter Pan and Wendy. So investors say they did a little teaser logo, and I will find out. I'll do
After the break.
I'll find out after the break.
I
I'll bring
suspect it'll be
back to you.
2022 though.
Yeah, I think it's either 2021 or 2022, but it's part of the remakes that they've been doing. Obviously,
The remakes have been wretched, but I think
I don't
when
know.
they're remaking
I think
Peter
some are
Pan,
good.
Lion King was not
Or
good.
some are- Lion King.
Lady and the Tramp was...
What I like about
Completely
Lion King
unnecessary.
and Jungle Book is they didn't achieve anything for what they were doing, but the after effects, like if you watch the Mandalorian documentary, The Gallery, the stuff that Jon Favreau learned on those two projects really benefited the Mandalorian. So I have a massive respect for them too. Loved Aladdin. I had a lot
I've not actually seen Aladdin.
a lot of people had a lot of concern for Will Smith as a genie. I think I was one of them as well, but Will Smith smashed it. He made it his own, and Jasmine got her own song.
I think
Peter Pan and Wendy, that's the one that's needed.
Yes, I was going to say
Like,
exactly the same thing.
Like, for Disney's purposes, because they've got that
As a
scene.
palate cleanser for that
Yeah,
scene.
of course, definitely. And obviously, we've talked about other Peter Pan stuff. The 2003 one wasn't Disney, Hook wasn't Disney, Pan wasn't Disney. I think now's a good time to have a new Peter Pan film.
Yeah, and I will watch it with interest. I think I'm going to love it.
Law as well as Captain Hook.
Good. I think
They
I'm
played
going to
a good
love
villain.
watching the Disney Peter Pan, and I'm going to try and kind of not let that scene taint
The experience.
the experience. Isn't
Yeah.
it basically completely and utterly fucking racist?
Yeah. It's
Right.
well racist with
Right.
Native Americans.
Okay.
Well, to be fair, I think it was made in the early 19th century. It was like the 30s,
60s,
or
I think, wasn't it?
30s or I thought it was 30s or 40s, maybe 50s.
We'll look that up in
We'll
between.
Google's it.
Yeah, we'll look
But
that
yeah, it's still not great though.
No.
And there is as well. I know this because I've watched it a lot on Disney Plus. There is a warning that tells you there's this. Yeah. There's a scene in
Okay.
this that isn't.
That's the
And-
right way to deal with it.
Annoyingly, as well, this scene is probably hard to remove because it's an important part of the plot. Like
Right.
Wendy, pretty sure
No,
Wendy
I'm
gets
not-
kidnapped in it.
I'm not in favour of censorship. I would like
Well, to
what they've done by the sounds of things. If they put a little warning
Yeah.
that this was at a time, blah, blah, blah. They did that with Tom and Jerry.
Yeah,
Years and years ago, they got Whoopi Goldberg in
yeah,
to say, yeah, this is really racist. The black woman who gets scared of the mouse on the chair, her voice was voiced by a white woman,
Yeah.
and it's unpleasant, but it was of the time, and the slapstick is still funny.
yeah.
So I think that's the way to deal with it.
The TV show, just another tangent, but with the last one, don't worry, we'll go.
You did tangents, dear, surely not, dear.
But Big Mouth, they did. They had a character who's like, we all know the premise of Big Mouth, right? Just Google it if not.
Yeah, I'm surprised you like it, to be
kids
honest
one.
with you. It's about sex.
Some stuff. Yeah, it's more about, it's like growing up though, and it's like
No, it's about sex.
No, a lot of it's like the awkward stuff of growing up though as well. And it's like there's characters in there I relate to. Like I think her name's Susie, the little black girl. Yeah, like I relate to her being like, oh my goodness, this is awkward. But she was voiced by a white woman, and there's this whole thing in season 4 about her, discovering her blackness. And that like relatives are trying to get her to say the N word, and she goes, "I definitely can't say that," and it's because
Okay.
And then they did this very good thing, like the whole thing of season 4 is like her transitioning into becoming a more black version of herself, and then that's how the voice actor changes.
Oh,
which was very clever. I was like, nice.
Again, I guess that's the best way to deal with it.
Yeah, and we're in this time now where we're aware, at least more aware of like what is wrong, what is more acceptable, and I think in more years to come they'll become even better, and we might even notice that some of our recent stuff as well is still quite offensive and stuff like that. I feel like there's a lot of stuff with like even LGBT, like I feel like more like they should represent the characters that they are in a way.
Right, here's the thing. You've tangented, so I'm allowed one too.
Yeah.
The stuff with Chandler's dad in Friends was revolutionary, and it was representation, and it was, whilst there were some tasteless jokes, it was still a relatively positive character with Chandler's dad. But
the important part was their relationship as well, wasn't it?
20 years on, Chandler unfortunately looks a little bit homophobic, but at the time it was incredibly forward. It was incredibly risky on a very popular show,
and that's how people in the 90s would have reacted to it as well.
I don't like it. I find it yucky, but if you take a step back and think about the time, again, all it needs is a little thing at the start explaining that. I don't like censorship. I don't want censorship.
HBO might do that as well with HBO Max, because they're getting Friends now. I think.
But it's a special. It's not like a.
What do you mean?
It's a reunion, isn't it?
No, they've got the rights to Friends.
Oh, I see.
So they're doing the reunion to promote the fact that they've got Friends.
Gotcha.
Yeah, because HBO's got Warner Brothers and all that in there as well.
Ah.
Yeah. So they're doing that to promote the fact, we've got Friends now. We have the power.
Anyway, problematic scene in Peter Pan. Is there anything else we want to say before we watch it?
There's a sequel to this.
Oh, there is a Peter Pan too,
Peter Pan
isn't there?
Return to Neverland, yeah.
I've never seen it. Any good?
It's alright. I mean, I like Peter Pan stuff, so I don't mind it.
I'm not sure I want to watch that with you.
Wendy's daughter comes back to touch on the other Peter Pan stuff. I really want to see... I want to see your reaction to the 2003 one.
I liked Hook as a kid.
Yeah, I think you'll like the 2003 one. They've got a very clever thing that you'll obviously discover probably straight away, but when I discovered it when I was a bit older, and I was like, that's very clever, Dad.
Right.
I won't spoil it though.
No, don't spoil it.
And I don't know if the listeners are even like, what's dead clever that? Because they probably would have picked it up straight away, even as a kid, but I was like older and I was like,
Right, okay.
The only clue I'll say is Malfoy's dad. Hopefully someone will be like, I know.
Okay, fine. I have no idea what you're talking about.
Good.
So we're going to watch Disney's Peter Pan, and we're going to
go to Neverland.
Yeah.
And hopefully come back with some thoughts and feelings on our journey through Neverland. We're going to try and avoid talking too much about Tiger Lily's, that part of our trip.
We'll see you in a bit.
Hello, and this is Chucky Vision on the We Made This Network, the podcast for all things Chucky. I'm Dev Elson.
And I'm Mark Adams. We're two queer podcasters who love bloody horror,
Camp comedy, gay romance,
and referencing icons like Freddy, Jason, and Britney.
The Chucky films and new TV show deliver all of that, and there is still so much more to cover.
So if you want to play, find Chucky Vision on Twitter @ChuckyVision and on all good podcast providers.
And yes, the title is a Chuckle Vision pun.
Because why not? Some of that was tough to watch, Fraser.
Oh, I thought that was just you breathing before we even started. I thought you were just going to go, I don't know if I can do this intro or whatever.
I think that covers it.
Should we start with a joke?
Go on then.
Okay. So, Captain Hook and Smee having a conversation. Captain Hook goes to Smee, oh, you know what I miss, Smee? I miss the app Vine. And Smee goes, oh, don't worry, Captain Hook. I've got the perfect app for you. It's new. It's just like Vine. And Captain Hook goes, oh, what's it called? And he goes, tick. Oh.
Really?
Yeah. I do like my Peter Pan jokes. It's just a shame they never land.
You wanted to do this episode just because of that joke.
No, I just thought the joke's halfway through.
The TikTok thing, though, right?
Yeah.
Is that exclusively a Disney thing? Did Disney introduce that?
No, I'm not sure if Disney introduced it, but I'm sure it's a thing. It's meant to be a metaphor, isn't it, for time and like getting old. And the whole premise of Captain Hook is as well that he is also afraid of getting old, but he's just not doing as good of a job as Peter is hiding it. Like,
shit, does that make me Captain Hook and you Peter Pan?
Quite possibly, yes, if you want to make that distinction. It's okay, we can be the Captain Hook and Peter Pan in Pan. They get along, they're mates.
I mean, at the end of the day, I'm not going to try and repeatedly murder you
that's good.
And, you know, abduct young girls or anything like that.
I appreciate that. That's probably the best for you in general, but for both of us as well. Yeah. I agree.
No murdering.
No, none of the sorts. But it's the whole thing of like, if you see Hook as well, he's got a wig on, so he's trying to hide his youth. In Pan, Blackbeard is using this device to make himself younger. It's quite grim, but it's also the whole thing of like, everyone goes to Neverland to not grow up, even Captain Hook.
Okay, that makes sense.
So yeah, the TikTok age in time. I think the crocodile's just like a nice little fun thing, is that?
Yeah.
But yeah, that wasn't the only addition that surprised you as well. Nana the dog was a big shock for you.
I completely forgot that the dog was a thing, and she was lovely.
Have you seen Peter Pan on stage and stuff? Because I've seen it quite a bit on stage as well. So they'll always have someone in a dog costume, and it's always funny. It's always like a comedian or something, or like what's his name, Biggins or something.
Fuck Biggins, biphobic cunt.
Is it really?
Oh yeah, he said some really horrible biphobic shit on.
I was going to say, biphobic. I was going to say, I'm sure he's gay.
Yeah, he is gay, but he was saying stuff like stuff like bis are only gay men transitioning, no such thing as bi, and all that.
He can't be the dog then.
He can fuck right off.
The dog's charming. I was gutted because 2020, the year that everything was cancelled. In Essex, where I was working, there was going to be a Peter Pan pants man.
Devoed.
I'd love to just watch it and maybe try and get in it. There's a good Peter Pan Goes Wrong is hilarious. Have you seen the Goes Wrong group? They're quite funny.
No.
They'll do like a show that deliberately goes wrong and stuff like that in the comedy.
Oh, okay. I know the idea.
Oh, hilarious. Yeah, the Peter Pan Goes Wrong was the first introduction I had to that, and I was like, yeah, these are very funny. But do we want to touch it? We've sort of graced over the horrible stuff, but
should we do the horrible stuff first and then not touch on it again?
Get the nasty stuff out of the way. That's what I like to say in a relationship. Like, let's get the nasty stuff out of the way, and then we'll do the nice bit at the end.
So it was not
and by
just
that I mean sex first and then cuddle afterwards.
Fucking sex is great. It wasn't just that one scene.
No,
it was
anything to do with Tiger Lily that wasn't Tiger Lily.
There was a lot of stuff, and throughout the whole film, the white characters referred to. They never used the term Native American. No. They used two different racist terms, but they also used the term savage as well, which I thought was even worse potentially, or certainly as bad.
The thing as well is like the Native American characters like Tiger Lily and her tribe were treated as like on par with like mermaids, as these like
mythical
creatures and sort of like the savages or stuff like that, or something you could turn into. And it's like kids can't turn into Native Americans. They are either born Native American or something. And it's that whole thing of like, to be fair, we do it a lot in the West. We sort of generalise areas, even our own areas, but
we're doing it less now.
Yeah,
we're doing it less now. But I think there's a huge difference between perhaps the lovable Geordie, the Jack the Lad Geordie, compared to a whole race of people. It is different.
There's a lot of people.
Still not nice.
There's a lot of people now as well that are like questioning like how offensive impressions can be. Because obviously there's like the impressions like the terrible, every racist uncle and stuff like that have got like the terrible Chinese impression.
Or the terrible Indian impression.
Yeah, or the terrible Indian impression.
As in from India.
Yeah. But then there's like, if one of us did like a Scottish accent or something like that, it's one of the things. And we binge watched Auntie Donna and they make the fun out of they do a South African accent.
They do.
I'm not really from South Africa, and then one of them's from Scotland, one of them's from New Zealand. But that's the thing of like, people will question like, will there become a time where that becomes offensive? And I don't know.
I personally, at the moment, really enjoy an audiobook where the reader is a talented impressionist and able to do accents. I don't know. There was David Walliams does an Indian character in his book. It's a very positive Indian character. Yeah. He's a likable man, but he does put on an Indian accent for it.
And he's got a bad history for stuff like that, obviously, with the Little Britain.
Yeah.
But I feel like in this context, I think it all becomes the context with it as well.
I don't know. I don't feel like I'm educated enough to answer that.
Yeah, I feel like if you're mocking someone, or clearly mocking someone, then it's not. But if it's one of those things of like, I don't know, it's hard to judge, but I feel like there are different ways.
We were talking during the film about when the white kids, the Lost Boys and the family use Native American paint on their faces. Is that as bad as blackface? And I don't know.
It's known as
because I'm not from that background, but I did kind of, it got my shoulders up, it got my hackles up a bit.
It is known as cultural appropriation.
Yes,
a lot of people do that like during Halloween, and there's a lot of stuff on that. I think that definitely would be considered cultural and obviously would be.
They didn't colour their skin though, they just used the war paint.
Yeah, which is slightly different, probably less offensive. And it's one of them, I guess say if you were to go to Native America and they did it to you, then it would be maybe a different situation, like if it was part of like an experience or something like that. Whereas if you did it for Halloween and stuff like that. Again, I think it's this whole thing of like, if you're treating these things as like mythical characters or like caricatures. Yeah. Caricatures is probably the better thing. Like,
also true.
If you're doing like an Indian or a Chinese accent as a caricature, then maybe it's a bit more offensive than if it was, just someone doing, I'm just playing a South African character.
Yeah. It's weird, isn't it? I think. So we talked a little bit about cosplay during what we were watching, and I was saying how I like to do crossplay, whereas women dressing up as male characters when they do crossplay tend to make it a sexy Captain America or a sexy whatever.
Oh, Captain America's always sexy.
You know what I mean, though?
They'll put patriotism. Yeah.
You know what I mean, though? They'll wear a very,
like
very...
Doctor Who,
they'll do a sexy version of.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas when I crossplay, I try to do like a classy male version of female characters. So I was talking about how Tinkerbell had a really low skirt. You saw her knickers. I would wear a full suit with white shoes, because she had white shoes, and I'd wear the green suit and then just have some wings.
Would you give yourself some hair?
No, absolutely not. No. I'm a male version of her, and you haven't seen a male version of her. Who's to say that
I'm just trying to
what's a male name version of Tinkerbell? Tinkerbloke.
Tinkerbloke.
Well, no, I don't like that either.
There's
Tinkerfella.
No, there's one.
Tinkerfella.
There's a really bad. There's Twinkabell.
No, I'm not a twink. No, you're a twink.
I was going to say that is a.
But let's just say Twinkerfella lost his hair when he was very young.
Tinkerbell doesn't necessarily... I don't think that's exclusively female, though.
I know, but I liked doing the Scarlet Warlock and the Black Widower and stuff like that. That worked for me. But I guess there's a lot of stuff on cosplay that if you are going to do it, the skin colour isn't what's important about the character.
Yeah.
And, I was expecting the one scene, and the fact that there were savages and racist terms throughout the whole film, just something going.
It's a short film as well, and if you cut out most of it, you've cut out half the film.
Does it hit you in the childhood because it's clearly racist?
It does. Well, most of the time I'll skip over those scenes. I'd skip over those scenes because I know where the story's going in my head. I just play it because I know the Peter Pan story that well. I can skip it and I say, okay, so Tiger Lily's been saved by Peter and Wendy. Like, Wendy's going to get in trouble soon. Like, I know the story that well that I can skip over it.
Right.
It'd be interesting. Like, I feel very fortunate that the Peter Pan and Wendy is coming out in 2021. Yes. By the way, we did check it out.
Let's hope it rights some wrongs.
But I feel like now I'm to show my kids Peter Pan, I'll probably show them this one or the 2003 one. And I think that's why the 2003 one played more a big part in my childhood, is because I'm hoping that more people realise that this one from 53 was, okay, it's a bit sketchy or whatever, and that's why more people from my generation remember the 2003 one. 50 years. A lot changed, you know.
I mean, that's the thing. 1953, that was kind of a lot of people's attitudes out of ignorance rather than genuine racism.
And it's the thing as well. It's
almost like a fascination with the other, you know?
We do. Like, a lot of sort of caricatures and stuff like that does come from the other. There's this great travel writer, and he researches, like, travel journalism. And he's got this book called Orientalism.
Is it someone Said?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've read it.
He's got very good stuff on that, and he touches upon, like, Disney's, like, Mulan and stuff. But you see it here with Native Americans, like, they are literally painted as caricatures, because apart from Tiger Lily, none of them look human, if I'm honest.
I don't feel like Tiger Lily is a troublesome or problematic depiction. She's sweet, she's pretty. The pigtails is probably a little bit kind of stereotyping, but she isn't
offensive.
She isn't a horrible, nasty,
and
offensive version.
She isn't whitewashed like she was in 2015 with Pan.
Don't.
Yeah,
that's inexcusable in 2015.
Yeah, I've got trust in Disney in 2021. Like, they've already cast African American to play Tinkerbell, so
which is cool.
So I'm very trusting in Disney. So I think that one and the 2003 one would be the ones I showed to my kids growing up. Like, look, it's your dad.
So
not really. I won't force that on you.
There was one more thing I wanted to touch on in the ick before we move on to talking about the positive stuff.
Yay.
Yeah. It's quite sexist as well. You're going to be mother. You're the girl expected to look after the boys. Even the dog is a girl.
Yeah,
it just feels a little bit dated there as well.
It is, isn't it? And I think that, again, it's 50s England as well. It's like, oh,
True.
Yeah, it's just, again, it's the time it came out, and the whole situation with, like, one of my biggest regrets with Peter Pan is it's always called The Lost Boys. It's never like, you know, The Lost Gang or something, or Lost Boys and Girls.
It might be in the new version.
Yeah, I think in the new version, because I think the most important part of the new version is it's called Peter Pan and Wendy. Like, the original play was called Peter Pan and Wendy, so it was always focused on, you know, these two main characters, because you can look at it and say, oh, Peter Pan's the main character in this, but Wendy is also as well. Some people will see Wendy as the main character, some people will see Peter, some people will see both. So I think it is important that this new one is saying, okay, it's Peter Pan and Wendy's story, because you can't have the story one without the other. You know, you can go see Peter Pan just doing his stuff and it's like, okay, cool. And you can just go see Wendy, but, like, until she goes to Neverland, it's not really that interesting when you bring them together. Because they both develop, you know, Wendy's fearful of growing up, but being in Neverland, you know, it helps her realise, okay, now it's my time to grow up. Peter Pan, we sort of see, is a lot selfish towards the beginning. He does sort of develop throughout it. Again, he'll probably go back to his ways because he's in Neverland all the time. But we do see his character develop in this as well.
Yeah, let's move on and talk about positive stuff.
Yes. All about that.
There is one last tiny little bit of negative.
Oh, then don't say we're doing positive stuff.
I forgot.
Then say negative
it's not
stuff.
really negative, it's just an observation of the age of the film is smoking. Never, ever would you have smoking. Even the bad guy.
Even the bad guy?
Even the bad guy wouldn't smoke now in a kid's film. But
especially not the kids.
Children smoke in that scene as well. They smoke the pipe.
Get rid of it. We should point out as well, we had the display that lasted 10 seconds about the warning.
We did. We heard of it and it was right.
Yeah.
But the smoking thing, you even said token pass or whatever it is that people who...
Oh, puff and pass.
Puff and pass, that's it.
Wendy just passes it off, no.
But it really did look like a bunch of students smoking a pipe of marijuana. Yeah. And I realise that makes me sound like the biggest dag in all ever.
Yeah.
It's just not my vibe.
Sounding like Captain Hook or, you know, Mr. Darling.
It's not my vibe. But I'm very pro legalisation of marijuana, but it's not my vibe. But it was so obvious that even someone who is so ignorant of drug culture like me
knew it, got the reference.
So that won't be in the new film either.
No, definitely not. That'll be in a different film maybe. We'll stay on the cigarettes because I've got an interesting thing. It's about Walt Disney. I've gone a bit of a Walt Disney tangent now, and then we'll go on to the final thing. some listeners may be getting annoyed that it's like they actually haven't talked about the film yet, they talked about everything else. But we'll get all this out the way, and then it'll just be all
We
film.
haven't talked about the
references.
film. Just talked about the shit bits.
Yeah, so Walt Disney was a notorious smoker. And this again is to do with censorship.
Probably why
Disney
it's in
Plus.
the film.
But he was a notorious smoker, and he had all these photos where he's got cigarettes in his hand.
Between his two fingers.
Yeah, but Disney have got rid of, have censored that. So there's a lot of photos.
Photoshopped.
Yeah, there's a lot of photos of Walt Disney with just two fingers. So that's like his new pose, like. And
Because they've removed the cigarette.
and there's some Disney fans that would do that as their pose, like when they do, going to meet, like,
Right.
doing the Disney things.
Lovely.
It's also interesting to note that this was Walt Disney's favourite character was Peter Pan. I think it was like 1901, 1902 when he was growing up. He actually went with his family to go see Peter Pan as a play, and this was one of the ones when he was doing his animation that he wanted to have happen. And it was also, this came out 53, the park, Disneyland, his big dream was 55, and the Peter Pan flight, one of the best. I love that ride. Always make sure I go on it, but it's always got a massive queue. Rightfully so. It's so magical. It's like you're actually flying around Neverland.
Meh.
But that was one of his first rides that he had. Then it's still standing, and it's. I think Peter Pan and that Peter Pan complex worked so well with Walt Disney because he was always like about like childhood innocence and sort of never growing up, and it was always wanting, like with the parks or the films, he always wanted new generations to get new stories, and you just sort of see it in all of Disney's work, don't you? The importance of childhood, and it makes sense that it was his favourite character, and like some of the quotes Disney says is very reminiscent of like that's what James and Barry would say, like these two would get on so well, like in a room. Also, just a little side note, the last little tangent, is also Steven Spielberg's favourite character.
Is it?
When he was growing up.
That's why he did Hook.
That's why he did Hook. And he was planning to do Hook for ages. But yeah, he said before he saw Spider-Man or Batman or anyone else fly, the first character he saw fly was Peter Pan, so he always...
I'm sure that's not uncommon.
You know when we're like flying around a room pretending to be like Superman or whatever. I don't know why I said Batman. Batman doesn't... Well...
You know what, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
Superheroes.
Oh, no, don't. If I was listening, I'd be like... Rah, 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 rah. No, I wouldn't really. But I know people that would. But yeah, the first one he saw was Peter Pan, so whenever he's flying around, he's imagining he's Peter Pan. It's kind of nice.
So I want to talk about the animation.
There you go, 1953 animation.
Out of this world.
So good, right?
Like,
considering a lot of it, they would probably have had to like draw as well. Like,
and the thing about Disney is the ones that are released in the cinema are that quality, and they were from the very, very start.
Yeah.
The straight to video stuff is awful in a lot of cases.
Yeah.
Like really bad animation.
I was going to say, if we probably watch the second one of this, you'll probably see the difference.
Yeah, so I was expecting to see like Disney style, but shit because of its age.
Yeah.
And it really, really wasn't. It was gorgeous.
It shows that style is timeless, though, and it's pretty good that they've sort of managed to keep that style, but update it without making the new stuff look old.
I said at the very, very beginning that the mum, she's only very, very minor character, really. But she looks like a Disney princess before Disney princesses were really a thing.
Yeah.
They'd certainly not got the kind of the cabal of the girls.
They'd done like a Snow White, so the debate was...
Snow White is a princess, but she wasn't part of the princess thing.
Yeah, it wasn't like a... And now we have so many princesses.
Yeah.
We know the look.
But the mum looks like she's not a princess. She's not one of the ones that they put in the thing.
She might not
looks like one.
but she is in our hearts.
Yeah, she looks like it. And the style has remained the same since goodness knows how long.
Yeah.
But like you say, I expected the updated stuff to be noticeably different and better, but it's not. This was...
Yeah.
Yeah, my particular favourite scene was when Hook had been made to walk the plank and he was in with the crocodile and the rowboat.
All the Hook and crocodile stuff is just so hilarious.
It's brilliant.
It's so funny. And it's
the animation makes the jokes better because it's so
obscure,
good. Yeah.
It's obscure animation as well. It's like he's gliding over the boats and stuff like that. And it's stuff obviously that wouldn't, you can't actually physically do. But you can achieve it in animation. And it's a kid's story. It's like Wendy telling this story. It's like you can imagine it, and it's brilliant slapstick. Hilarious, yeah. All this stuff with just Hook screaming "Shmee" and getting so close to being eaten up.
Another thing I want to talk about is really early on again. I said to you, Peter Pan is meaner than I remember. But as I thought about it, kids are meaner than they think they are. Kids
you don't have that awareness, do you?
No, so I think the depiction is impressively realistic.
Accurate, yeah.
Kids will do something mean because they haven't really thought about it. They're thinking selfishly, they're not really thinking. And then you sit them down and you explain to them, you bullied that child. What you did was hurtful.
Yeah,
you can see the kind of acknowledgement and understanding wash over them. And it bothers them. This is my experience with being a scout leader and stuff like that, is a lot of kids don't realise that their behaviour is wrong until they actually think about it. There's more of an impulsiveness when it comes to being children. And so initially I was like, I didn't want Peter Pan to be mean. But as we continue to watch it, and as Peter Pan started to understand things a little bit better,
moments you talk about, I
was like, that's really fucking good, actually.
Like, clever storytelling, and it's one of those things with the Peter Pan complex as well. It's like a lot of people will say, like people like sometimes like us won't realise how selfish they're being by like going to camp for another summer, or what else do I do? Jumping from here, there, and everywhere, like with jobs instead of staying in one place. Like I think it's great because I'm doing all these things, but like, what about the people I'm leaving back
I
elsewhere?
miss you when you go, but I don't expect you to make decisions based on me. So I think a lot of people who are supposed to be grown up will use phraseology like, always look after number one. But that's exactly the same as someone who is being a bit Peter Pan-y as well. And I agree with both sentiments. You can't let other people's feelings affect what you do and what you want to do. But what the real part of being a grown-up is acknowledging it and doing the best you can to soften the blow, I think.
Definitely. And I think that's what Peter Pan, sort of starts to learn with the friendship with Wendy. Because he does, he takes Wendy back and stuff like that. And he, we don't get to see it until, well, and I'm not sure it's addressed much in the sequel, but like with the Lost Boys, I'm sure it'll take on a much different role.
The Lost Boys? The Lost Boys isn't a sequel to Peter Pan.
No, I mean, no.
Have you seen The Lost Boys?
No.
Mate, do you want to watch The Lost Boys?
No,
we should totally watch The Lost Boys.
No, but I'm just... Right, you're going on a tangent.
I know, because I like The Lost Boys.
But no, I'm saying, like...
Kiefer Sutherland. Oh, the things I do to Kiefer... I do things to old Kiefer Sutherland, but Lost Boys Kiefer Sutherland...
You do more.
Oh, be still my heart.
Okay.
Sorry, I did a tangent. Nice. You do more tangents than me. It was my turn.
I do some gross ones. Oh... Do you want another Peter Pan joke? I'm joking, I don't have any more.
Have I put you off?
No, I made my point. It's just
okay.
You just weren't listening and then heard Lost Boys and was like, boing!
I got distracted by beautiful
boing, boing.
Kiefer Sutherland.
Right, I'll have a look over at your notes. And Pirates of the Caribbean. You liked the Pirates.
I did, as I said to
They've
you.
They've got the pirate songs, haven't they?
The songs were very, very close
to yo
ho, a pirate's life for me. And I think that Peter Pan influenced the Pirates of the Caribbean ride, which then created the film. So I think you've got to acknowledge Peter Pan's role in
everything Disney, and that's the thing as well, is when you go to these Disneyland parks, you'll see the Pirates of the Caribbean and the Peter Pan stuff near each other. I remember because I was like, okay, I think Peter Pan's near Pirates, so we're heading towards Pirates of the Caribbean trying to find Peter Pan. And then we saw Jack Sparrow running around. I was like, we're close.
That's cool, though. I mean, surely there's potential for Jack Sparrow and Captain Hook to fight and stuff at Disney World.
A crossover.
Yeah.
They do some hilarious stuff. do. On,
you are a ludicrous human being.
At some of the Disney parks. So, like, obviously, Peter Pan will get some of the kids to hide from Captain Hook and do the TikTok sound, and Captain Hook will lose his mind and stuff like that. And watching that stuff is like... such pure joy, and like just what this character can bring, these characters can bring is.
I think something like The Lion King didn't need a remake. There's nothing wrong in The Lion King. There's nothing unpleasant.
It's so recently done as well. It's like 1995. I think The Lion King came out. 2020. No, it wasn't even 2020, was it? It was like 20. Yeah, there's not been a lot of time. Whereas this, 50 years.
I think the remake will do this some
Nearly
good.
60 years, actually. Jeez.
Yeah, I think the remake will do this some good. I mean,
And they'll take that taste of pan out of our mouths. We'll have a nice, just...
there's some stuff that I want them to retain. So Peter is still very much a boy, whereas Wendy is on the cusp of growing up and being more of a woman. And
The people they've cast are perfect for that as well. It's like, it is literally a boy and a girl. Like, she may be slightly older than Peter. I don't know if she'll be...
that was always implied,
I
wasn't
don't
it?
think she'll be as old as this Wendy, though, because this Wendy's very much like, I'm going into matured. Or maybe it's just the way she's drawn.
But Peter has quite extreme responses to almost everything. It's all heightened childlike emotions, and she tempers him.
Yeah.
She acknowledges his feelings, but helps him understand and keep them a bit more grown up and calmer.
Oh boy, I could do with a Wendy. I could do with a Wendy, if I'm honest.
I can't be your Wendy,
No.
because
No,
I'm
you're
a Peter
Hook.
Pan too. I'm Hook, sorry. But the friend Hook.
Yes, the friendly Hook.
The friendly
before it all went. Yeah, I could do with a Wendy. Got all these wild things and just like...
The only other thing I've got in my notes, I tend to like to spot what might have influenced something that I like.
Yeah.
Now, I know you aren't really a Nintendo guy.
I thought you were going to say something Doctor Who, then I was like, oh.
No.
No Doctor Who in this.
No Doctor Who.
Has Doctor Who been to Neverland yet?
Doctor Who's done Pirates, but he hasn't been to Neverland, no. The Lost Boys were all dressed in animal outfits. And in Super Mario Brothers 3, there's the Tanuki suit.
Yeah.
That has got to have been influenced by this, because it is basically a raccoon onesie that he can then like whap the baddies with his tail.
How amazing would it be to have like a Peter Pan themed party, and it's like all the boys dress up in like, you just all wear onesies.
Yeah, you
Just
could
wear
do that.
animal onesies. Maybe that would be my bachelor party.
Yes, so you go as
Stag do.
Peter Pan,
Yeah.
and all your mates go as
In onesies,
In onesies, that would be perfect.
That would be better than the wedding. I feel like if I got in the wedding, I feel like stag do. Stag do, it's fine.
Your stag do would be brilliant.
Yeah, it'd be probably in at Disney. Stag do at Disney. It's like, we can't get any alcohol. Yeah, you can. It's California Adventurers where they sell the alcohol, and Galaxy's Edge. Don't ask me why I know.
Yeah, you're not into booze, really.
No.
Would you get drunk on your stag do, dressed up as Peter Pan?
No, I'd probably indulge in the devil's lettuce, though, which is why California would be a good place for my...
Could you maybe have one that allows your mates who like booze to get boozed, and your mates who like that?
Oh no, that's why California would be perfect.
Right.
It's the best of both worlds, unless you're under 21. But I feel like if you're under 21, you're probably not coming.
Can you go to places in California where you can go to the bar and say, I'll have a pint of lager, pint of bitter, and 2 reefers?
Probably not at Disney.
Not at Disney, but...
No, there's like dispensaries where you can get stuff. And
Right.
You'd probably just pre-game and then go into Disney.
Right. Yeah, pre-game.
Yeah. Pre-game.
My one last thing that
Oh my
made
goodness,
me
before the last
smile.
of us.
I know. The mermaids with shell boobs.
The
They were like-
hypocritical.
The hypocrisy of the mermaid saying, she's in her night. Just, darling, you are literally wearing nothing other than 2 shells on your tits. You have got nothing to talk about.
I would have loved a sassy you just coming in. Excuse me. If you were John or Michael, just That is my sister. She's slightly classier
That's a nice,
than you.
easy cosplay as well.
What, Michael and or
John.
Just wear the... I know someone who was... I think it was Michael. He just got to wear pyjamas all day. Like, he was... I think it was a pantomime.
I think I prefer to do Tinkerfella.
Tinkerfella, yeah.
Yeah.
I do Twinkerbell.
No, you be Peter Pan, and I'll be Tinkerfella, and we'll do like cosplay somewhere at some point.
You don't want to be Hook.
No, maybe.
Hopefully I'll find a Wendy.
Maybe.
Although saying that, Tinkerbell is very loyal to Peter as well, and one of the things we were talking about, how Peter understands, like, you know, when he's gone wrong is when Tinkerbell...
Yeah, and that's one of the extreme responses. That's one of those extreme responses I was talking about.
Oh, when he said, Tinkerbell, you're the most important person to me, I was like, oh, my heart.
But, you know, she did something bad, but his extreme response was, you're barred forever.
Yeah.
And that's one of what I was talking about, how Wendy tempers him. Even though it was Wendy that was wrong, she calmed him down and said, look, you love Tink. She was a right cunt. But, you know, give her a second chance because she's your best mate.
I love how jealous Tinkerbell is as well. It's, the thing is with Tinkerbell is, I remember seeing somewhere, it's like she can only express one emotion at a time, which is why she goes from really angry, really happy, like, so it's always changing, because, like, fairies can only apparently have one emotion.
Tinkerbell's infatuation with Peter.
Yeah.
As an asexual, that works for you, right? For me, how big is his cock and how small is her vag?
They're not doing it like that.
Well, that's the thing, but she is clearly infatuated with him. She's clearly in love with him. Mm-hmm. But is it an asexual love, is what I'm getting at?
Yeah, defo asexual. We've had this conversation on your...
I still struggle with asexual shit.
Peter Pan's definitely asexual. I honestly think... They don't show it really well on this, but if I was to write a Peter Pan thing...
In your headcanon?
Yeah, in my headcanon, a character like Tiger Lily, if she's more promiscuous, would intimidate Peter. Mm. And then that's why he goes more for a Wendy who's like caring and stuff like that. Bit creepy that it's the mother thing, but we'll look past that. But then Tinkerbell's sort of like the right bit in the middle. She's not his mother, but she's also not this thing that's promiscuous, and like she's hit the right balance. It's more close to.
I'd like to see Wendy.
That's my thought, anyway.
I'd like to see Wendy explore in the new one gender roles and question her own motherliness.
That would be good.
Do you not think that would be really positive?
Would be interesting as well when they put what time they put this in. If it's going to be the 50s, if it's going to be early England, or whether it's going to be present day England. Because present day England, Wendy's, you know, she's going to be like, none of your shit. But earlier on, it might be different. But mind you saying that, women were killing it in the war, weren't they? And
it's true.
They've been killing it for years.
It's true.
It's about time they get their recognition.
I think there's so much to be played with Peter Pan. Yeah. And from what you've said about the other versions to this, it hasn't been played with enough.
It started. There's some that have started to do it. But now it's time to, like, Disney, this is your chance to prove, like...
And, you know, there's no reason why we can't... If we're talking about Peter Pan being asexual, there's no reason why it couldn't gender flip things and you couldn't have, like, a biromantic asexual Peter Pan who, instead of Wendy, it's Walter or whatever.
Oh, not Walter.
Oh, all right. But I couldn't think of a...
Terrible name.
William instead of William. Yeah.
But John and/or Michael.
Yeah, there's lots of things that can be played.
Maybe that's in fan fiction. There is. There's a lot of Peter Pan comic books out there, and there's one. It's by I think his name's Mark Andreyko, where Peter Pan's a vampire, but he's also a gay vampire who lures in predators and kills them.
Okay.
So if you want some of that stuff, I mean, it is out there.
I mean.
I think it's called Peter.
Vampires are quintessentially bisexual by the nature of the fact that their teeth are phalluses and they don't really differentiate whether they bite men or women. But that's a conversation for another podcast, I think.
Yeah. Are they bi or are they pan?
I like that. Have you got anything else to say, or are we finishing on that?
No, finish on some classic jokes. Start on a good joke, finish on a good joke.
Good times?
Yeah.
So that was lots of fun. It was obviously problematic, but we knew it was going to be.
Yeah, we were prepared for it, which I think helps. A lot of the times with these shows, we're not really fully prepared, but
yeah,
we knew the worst, and then we just got to enjoy the best.
True that.
And remember, we're all going to fly away now, and all you need is faith, trust, and a bit of pixie dust. Have you got a happy thought? Hold on to that happy thought, and we'll fly away.
Right in the Childhood is a podcast brought to you by the We Made This podcast network. You can follow the show on Twitter at RITCpod. The show's creators were Mark Adams and Fraser Summers. The show's host is me, Mark Adams. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at MarkAdamsHC. The show's logo was created by Carl Bryan, and the theme tune was composed and performed by Colin Jackson Brand. much for listening, and I hope you enjoyed being hit